Okay, so this is our latest podcast. We are in Edinburgh. We've been here almost a week. Tomorrow it'll be a week. We haven't done one of these for a while, but this is our ongoing series of podcasts on Alzheimer's and how we're dealing with it. And this one is going to particularly focus on all the time we're spending together in close proximity, the way you do when you're traveling, and how that is affecting our relationship and our perception of what's going on with the Alzheimer's, and also how we really like Edinburgh and having pints every night, etc. Except not tonight because we're doing this. So what do you think, honey? How has it been being in constant 24-hour contact?
Well, I don't think it's been really bad because at the very beginning, when we first got here, I was a little stressed about your bossiness. So I took a long walk in a strange city by myself. Didn't tell anybody where I was going, meaning I didn't tell Will. I just got a little bit angry at his bossiness, which I understand. He wants to make sure I'm safe and I'm doing things that are healthy. But I just kind of, decided I was going to walk around the city by myself, which of course is like something we've talked about never doing, for me never to do that. But I was fine. I walked all over the place and I didn't get lost and I actually enjoyed it. So when I got back, we had a talk about that it's okay for him to assist me, but he's not the boss of me. He doesn't get to tell me what I can and can't do and how things should be done in his way. So that was really good, actually, because it can be really hard on both of us. He wants to protect me and he wants me to make, to be safe. But on the other hand, it's like I'm still an adult woman who doesn't want to be told what they can and can't do. But that was the first day, and that went over. We had to go through that little bit, and now things have really smoothed out. Wouldn't you say, sweetie?
Yeah, except for the women's walk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. I'm never going to get forgiven for that. Do you want me to tell the story?
Sure.
So we've been having a great time, the two of us together, going out to eat, also going to a lot of museums and castles, and it's just been wonderful fun. And for days we were noticing these signs that said, "No parking, special event." So we thought the Queen was coming to town for her birthday, and we were hoping to, we could get a glimpse or have a photograph or something. But it turns out it was the anniversary of the suffragettes' 100-year anniversary of winning the vote, or earning the vote, or getting the vote. So I thought this was a good opportunity for me to participate in something that I feel really strongly about. I've always worked in businesses, organizations that I would help empower people to be the best they can be. That's one of the things that I feel strongly about, that women should be empowered. So this was a large group, and I mean a large group, maybe like 100,000?
Maybe 50.
50,000, okay. 50,000 plus, probably, of women marching through Edinburgh, commemorating the vote that they were able to acquire before, obviously, women in America could. But it was a really long day, and Will just wanted to watch Raphael, which I did as well, play tennis. But he, the kind, gentle man that he is, agreed to let me spend, I don't know how many hours we were doing this, marching through the streets of Edinburgh, shouting, messages about how women deserve the right to vote and how empowered women are. And I did the whole walk with him not wanting to leave my side for fear of us getting lost and separated to the extent that we couldn't find each other. So he is walking along beside me outside the parade boundaries, but so that he can keep his eye on me the entire time. And one thing that, it was great. I mean, it took several hours, and I mean, it was just really miles and miles of walking.
I think it was about 17 hours.
Yeah. It may have felt like that. But it wasn't planned. The signs were like special event, no parking, special event, no parking. But they didn't have any signs as to what the special event was. And when I found out it was a march to empower women, having worked in organizations, that is exactly what my job was, to empower women. Also being my major in college was women's studies. I thought it was like the perfect opportunity to sort of embrace my support of women's rights to make decisions for themselves. But it was really incredibly unfair because
No, it was fine.
No, he couldn't.
No, we each get to do our thing sometime.
Well, he wouldn't leave me, which was nice because he didn't want us to be separated. But the women were really mean.
No, they weren't that mean.
They
just
weren't?
one here and there.
Well, they just were like put out by... They wouldn't let the men march, which in America, that's just something we want people to do, is march, whether you're male or female. But these women, didn't want men around, which I had a bit of a hard time with. So anyway, we did the march. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. It was a little awkward because no one seemed to really know what was going on, as far as there were these different colors and what color meant what and who got what color. It was just kind of weird. But I really enjoyed it. It took us hours to do it. It wasn't something that we did in an hour and that was it. For one thing, did it start at the castle?
No, it started past the castle in that big park. Where they had the big, the groups all lined up.
Oh, yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I walked every bit of the way. I didn't take a break or anything. We even walked to, what was that place we ended up at?
It was another park.
No, yeah, but
the Arthur's Seat.
Arthur's Seat. And there were quite a few people there participating. There's photographers everywhere. It was great. I mean, I'm really glad to have done that, but I didn't like that some of the women were not being very and they weren't very inclusive.
Do you think because of the Alzheimer's, you're like more impulsive, or you're more, open, let's say, to doing things on the spur of the moment like that?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, to be honest, because from the time I was a young woman, I really felt strongly about the rights of women. I had a very strong mother who never, she just did everything she wanted to do, and she didn't follow the norms or the way people are supposed to do things. She did what she needed to do to get the job done, and she didn't care that it wasn't following the rules of the way women were supposed to be. So she was a good role model for me, and I very much admired that in her. So it was easy for me to slip into those same roles.
Do you think that it's easier for us to deal with events like that maybe in the past would have led to a fight, but now just maybe just lead to, a few complaints and then maybe making jokes about it?
Well, it was a really long day, and I know you absolutely did not want to march on the sidelines where, a lot of these women were not inclusive, and they wouldn't let the men march, which I thought was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to march.
No, I know, but there was only one guy marching, and I'm not sure how he got away with that.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. I mean, women should embrace anybody who's willing and wanting to make society a more equal and better place.
Yeah, but I think that's, the sort of thing where, a few years ago, before your diagnosis, I would have complained a lot more bitterly.
Oh, yes.
I probably would have, tried to get you to stop.
Yes.
At various points, maybe after like 10 miles or 12 miles or, whatever.
Yeah, no.
And, you would have been maybe just in response to my bitter complaints, but you would have been a lot, more put out by my lack of, understanding of your desire to do such a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
I feel like we don't get so hung up on things like that, which really aren't that big a deal, and, we're more likely to look on the bright side.
Well, I also think that we're both a bit older. When we were young and, just getting to know each other, which, we had some disagreements because we were nudging each other to be in the same spot, to be together.
No, that's true.
And now, we don't need to do that because we are always going to be in the same spot. We're never going to be in two different spots. So it took a long time to get to that point. It wasn't something that happened overnight. We met, we looked into each other's eyes, and from that time forward, everything worked out beautifully. That's
how it happened.
Yeah, sure it did. That's what we call a fairy tale. But I enjoyed the walk. Even though I felt a little bit outside of it myself, because they didn't know me. I didn't know them. They had their own agenda. I just wanted to support women, and that sort of thing. And it just seemed like there was a lot of, I don't know what you'd say, but rules. And we usually, in my experience, which I've marched a lot for women's rights in the past, that it's like there are no rules. You just do the right thing. The whole point of having a march is to show the world what the right thing looks like.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me bring up something else. So, since your diagnosis in February, this is, the most time we've spent together, on a daily basis. I've been working and I haven't really been on vacation. I think I took a couple days off here and there, but, this isn't my big vacation for the year. And we're spending it just you and I, where in the past, usually we had the kids or whatever.
Visiting people. And
yeah, it's been very rare that we've had time like this, over the last 30 years. But we definitely haven't had it since your diagnosis with Alzheimer's like a year and a half ago.
Right.
I think it's really good for us. I'm really glad we have this time, I think it's really good because, when we're at home, it's like you're alone all day. And,
I'm not.
And I don't, well, okay, you have the rabbit and the dog.
That's a lot.
But, okay,
that's a lot of comfort for me.
Okay, that is. All right, you're alone except for the pets, mostly.
And the grandchild.
And Sophia, but, I'll come home and I'll feel like, wow, it must be sad. That must be lonely. And plus you're dealing with this, feeling that you've got this disease and you're, whatever feelings come up about that. I mean, you're kind of dealing with that all by yourself. And yes, we spend time together in the evenings and on weekends, but I don't feel like I really get to know what's going on with you, with all the changes that are happening. And so I'm glad for this time.
Well, I'm glad for any time when I have your 100% undivided attention on me, because that's what I like the most, is when you and I are together. And it's, it's great when it's just the two of us and we're learning about each other in an environment where it's you can learn about each other in a different way when you're in a different environment. Travel can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Most of the time in the past, and we've traveled together in the past a lot, we'd get into some horrific fights, and I would walk away and you wouldn't know where I was for, hours on end, and I'd be making friends with the natives, and eventually, we would make up and everything would be fine again, but back then I was very stubborn and I really wanted things my way, but now that I'm inflicted, I don't have the same desire to be the mover and shaker of everything.
Well, our emotional dynamics have changed a lot.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, and, what you said is really true. I mean, you don't, not only do you not, seem to have that desire to, be in control or be the one who says this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it, but you seem to in many situations want me to make a decision and are happy to go along with it, but like you said at first, I can take that too far. It's you're not a child, and even though in some ways I have those same feelings, I want to protect you and I want to make sure I've got things arranged, and do and set up and things that you can't handle necessarily or would feel flustered over. You know what I mean? It's
Are we talking about the first day we were here? Within the hour?
Exactly. It's but I can take that too far. I can sort of slip into that role of controlling everything and also telling you what to do, all the time, which is not.
Well, maybe we should explain exactly what happened.
Well, you talked about that.
Oh, I did?
No, well, you said when we first got here you got mad and took a walk. You didn't say why.
Well, because you were being such a boss. And
right.
I understand a lot of your bossiness is that you're trying to keep me safe and trying to make sure I don't wander off and blah, blah, blah. But I walked around the entire section of where we were staying by myself for, how long do you think I was out there by myself?
Not that long. 20 minutes.
That's all? Oh, my gosh. So, say a half an hour. So I was out there by myself, walking around, checking out the city, found my way back, had no problem, wouldn't answer the phone when he called me, obviously quite concerned because I disappeared, but he was being bossy. And one of my points was that even though I have this dreaded disease, it's sort of I'm not trying to minimize it, but I don't let it affect me to the extent that it's described in the medical book. This is going to happen to you, this is going to happen to you. And I understand that these terrible things will someday, change who I am. But I still am the boss of me. And I want that to be really clear. I am still the boss of me. And if I want to go out and take a walk because I'm angry and I need to let off some steam, I don't expect that to be a big deal. If I get lost, it's not like I'm going to disappear in a big gulf of smoke. There's going to be times when I just need to know that I'm still an adult and I'm still able to take care of myself should the need arise. And so we had a little bit of a, moving toward the right direction sort of thing, because it's okay for you to try and, for you to want to make sure I'm safe, but it's okay for me to want to make sure I'm an adult and I can still do the things that adult people do, which is I'm going to go explore the city by myself for a little while just to clear my head and to show that I can do it without it being a nightmare, that I can leave the apartment, go to the inner part of the city and walk around and check things out and then find my way back. And,
Right.
I'm capable of doing that. But
Right.
if I'm not allowed to do that, I will lose that capability.
Right. And that's why I've been trying to, let you say what we should do since then, like climb the Scott Monument, which I knew you really wanted to do, so I went along with that.
Well, the reason
and that was hard, climbing all those steps, but I did it because you really wanted to.
Yeah, that's why you went on the march with me, because you were trying to, make up for making me walk up all those stairs in this very narrow, circular staircase.
But it was worth it, wasn't it? You got to the top, and it's like, wow, I did something.
No, that's not how I felt.
The summit.
It's like, are you kidding me? This is all there is?
You got a penny. You got an embossed penny.
Oh, that's right. But I didn't have to climb to the top to get that. That was on the bottom. That was on the way in.
You have to climb up, or it doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count.
You can't just to get the penny and then be like, "Whoa, I went to the Scott Monument." Yeah, but you didn't climb it.
Yeah. Well, we went to the castle too, and that was, that wasn't too bad, but it wasn't very physically difficult.
No.
At all.
No, the castle was cool.
The castle was very cool. But I do think it's really important that I have some say in how I want to move forward. It may not be exactly the way, it would have been had I been not diagnosed with this dreaded disease, but I still feel like, I don't see it the way everyone else does. I'm not bothered by it very much unless I forget something, and then it's just like blame it all on the Alzheimer's. Even though prior to the diagnoses, I'd forget stuff all the time. But it's okay.
But it's different, and you don't see necessarily how it's different.
I don't.
But you do feel it. You do. I felt it was really poignant and kind of sad. And when you said you feel what your old self was like, and that it was different, and you try to make a bridge to that,
Yeah. And I think that, I feel like I'm more capable than the disease is showing. It is not in charge of me. The disease is not in charge of me. I have no control over it, but it's not in charge of me. I'm very happy. I love my life. I love my husband. I love my children. I love my pets. I am a happy person. When people meet me, they're surprised that I'm not, throwing myself off the highest building. Everybody dies. Everybody's going to die at some point. I just want to be able to enjoy life as the adult that I am.
You've gotten more gregarious.
Yeah, I think so too, because for one thing, there's no pressure on me. I don't work anymore.
Did you really say that? You told me when I went to the bathroom, we were in some restaurant. I can't remember which one.
The bookstore.
Oh, the bookstore, and some people were talking at the next table, and you suddenly pipe up.
I did.
Hey, do you know how old I am? Can you guess how old I am?
I did. It was a guy that was a politician, and two people were standing next to him. He was sitting down, and I was at the next table, and they were talking, politics or whatever, and they were just sort of standing there, and I was thinking, I bet they would never know how old I am. So I said, hey, can you guess how old I am? And all three of them looked at me, and I'm like, can you guess how old I am? They're like, 49? And they all like agreed that was it. I'm like, nope, I'm 60. And they all just looked at me.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But the reason I felt comfortable doing that is because I knew the guy was a politician.
Which means what?
I don't know. Just that, politicians have to take that kind of crap.
Right. So he can't be like, stop it, you crazy lady.
Exactly. So yeah, and they had guessed 49.
Yeah.
So
well,
and I'm like, no, I'm 60.
Yeah.
They left shortly thereafter.
They gathered their stuff and ran out.
Looking back as they did to make sure I wasn't following.
Oh, my.
I know. I mean, what are they going to do?
Yeah,
Fire me?
Good question.
Yeah. Sometimes I throw that in. Though I will say on the walk, not to get back to the walk, but there was a lot of people there, and I said some stupid, ridiculous number. Obviously,
the women's walk.
Yeah, the women's walk.
The women you were walking.
We were walking. We were trying to figure out how many people were there participating, and I'm like, well, there's got to be at least like 3,000, and I thought that seemed like a lot, and the woman was like, 3,000. There's way more than that. Like 100,000 is what she said.
Yeah.
And it's like
there was way more than 3,000.
Yeah, but was there 100,000?
Probably not. I actually said 100,000, but it may not have been that many, but it was more like 30,000 or 50,000 than it was. 10 times as much as 3,000, I would think, at least.
Okay, well, still.
It was huge. I mean, it was really huge.
It was huge. Jeez.
So.
And people walked really slow, which is okay because, there's a lot of
So
people
what
there.
did you think? I mean, when she's like, oh, it's way more than that. I mean, what did you...
Well, she said it in a snarky way, and I thought, what the hell? This is a woman's right movement where women are supposed to support each other and nothing you say should be considered stupid.
Well, what if you had said, I don't know, 35 people? I mean, come on.
Well, come on, but I know, it's like in America, for example, if you were in a women's march, women are really embracing each other. I mean, it's like we're in this together. And I've done lots of marches. I've been to Washington. I worked with women in women groups and supported them. And, I might have got the number wrong, but you don't, especially women who have been sort of put down and put in a separate place because they're not, educated or whatever. But I feel like that women should embrace all other women and men if men want to be a part of the solution instead of the problem. And I just felt like they should have been kinder to those who wanted to participate, but were kind of kicked to the curb when they...
Well, it kind of brings up a point, which is that people don't know. Not only do they not know that you have Alzheimer's, you just don't know what's happening with other people. I think it's a really good point. It's like, you never know why someone, might be confused or maybe, sad or silent or, taciturn or sulky or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know what's going on with people, what difficulties they may be dealing with.
Exactly.
And
so treat everyone with kindness.
I think that's a really good point.
And I just
this is this experience that you and I are going through, has brought that to the forefront for me, that not that I'm like always treating people with kindness or being, always being really nice to people, but
you're always nice to me, sweetie.
But that has really, this experience really makes me see that. Because people don't know. I mean, we go around, obviously we go around Edinburgh all the time, and, that's the subtext to our whole life now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the subtext to our life, is that you have Alzheimer's, and that's something that we're dealing with every minute, pretty much.
But it's important to know, too, is that I've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. They've done the test, and it's there. I'm guilty as charged. But I don't feel any different. I know that I act different. I know that I behave differently because people tell me that. But I don't see it. Sometimes I'll do something and it'll be like, oh, I get so frustrated. But it's not,
But sometimes you feel it. Sometimes you feel it, right?
What do you mean?
Sometimes you feel that,
Well, if I'm screwing stuff up over and over again, like in the same way, I notice that it's like I get frustrated with it. But I don't feel the physical changes.
Right.
But I know one thing that has changed, and I have felt this, is I've started having anxiety, which I never have had before. But I guess it's a symptom of Alzheimer's, but I've never had it before.
Right.
So that's kind of a bummer because I know that a lot of people have anxiety and it has nothing to do with Alzheimer's.
Right.
And so I'm not going to really feel sorry for myself too much because the Alzheimer, in my opinion, I blame it on the Alzheimer's. I don't.
And what does it feel like?
Well, it feels like something terrible is about to happen. I don't know if that's what other people feel, but that's how I feel when I have one of those feelings. It's not a panic attack. It's just a wave that comes over me. And, I've never had anxiety before, except if I'm worried about my children and I'm not sure if everything's going fine for them. But I've never had anxiety like that. I've never felt like something bad's about to happen. And it's really quite, unpleasant. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that I can find something that can help eliminate some of that because it's like, I don't know, it's sort of like a wave of darkness comes over you. And any moment now, something's going to jump out of a corner and get you. Yeah. It's just like, you're waiting for the shoe to drop.
I do think being in unfamiliar surroundings, especially in an unfamiliar home base, that I think our house and the pets and, everything that's familiar there, is very comforting for you and reassuring for you.
Well,
and that you don't have that here.
I've created, we as a family, but I certainly have put a lot of energy into creating a family atmosphere that's really warm and inviting. And that is not something you can get in a rented apartment.
Right.
And I'm accustomed to that. I'm accustomed to having my environment being warm and cozy and inviting, and that I can, share my environment with the animals and people in my life.
Right.
We've been away it seems like we've been away for months, and I really miss my animals. I know it's sort of silly, but I care a great deal for them. In fact, as we walk through the city, not just the one city, but the other cities, if I see an animal I have to stop and acknowledge it because it makes me feel better about the fact that I haven't been able to see my pet for a while.
Right.
And it's nice because then I get to talk to people, and it's a social event.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a dog or even a child that's especially adorable, I can't help myself but acknowledge their adorableness or their sweetness, whether it be a child or a dog. And people really react to attention on the things that they love.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of homeless people, and most of the people that I've met that are homeless, they have a dog with them. And the dog that we saw recently, oh my gosh, he was so adorable. They were homeless, a couple, and they were in a alleyway, and the dog was just lovely. And he had these little toys, and he'd run after him and get him. He'd jump up in the air and catch him. I mean, they're like a little family. They live on the street. They have a dog. They're like a little family still, even though they don't have any place to live. But when we walked by them today, because we walked by them a couple times. This is in Glasgow.
Yes.
Yes. So we walked by them. I stopped and chatted with them for a while. I even threw some money in her little bucket. And when we walked back, on our way back to the train station, they were sleeping, and the dog was sleeping with them. And it just was like such a warm and fuzzy feeling. They're in the streets, but they're really, connected with each other. They're really happy. And the dog
Well, I don't know that they're happy.
Well, they're happy as far as being together.
They're definitely connected to each other.
Yeah, but they're very connected to each other. And, I mean, that is such an important thing. I mean, that's why society has such big problems, is because of the lack of connection. Even if you're homeless, with a dog and a partner, and you're sleeping on a sleeping bag in a alleyway, you're still connected to something. You're still connected to each other. You're still connected to your purpose, whatever that may be. And I think that's important. And the fact that I haven't seen my dog in quite a long time, or my rabbit, when I see another animal, I feel really warm toward it. Like I want to give it something and make it feel better.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice. It's also a way to communicate with other people. When you see someone with an animal and you stop and you interact with that person or those people, and you learn about their dog or their cat or whatever, it's a connection. And I think that's really important. People walk by, the homeless people sitting in the alleyways, and they don't acknowledge that they're even there. And I think that says a lot about how our societies in the world are really lacking. Even if you're not going to throw a coin down, or you're not going to whatever, to stop and say hi and chit-chat about absolutely nothing, acknowledge the dog and whatever, I think that really makes a big difference. But people are afraid to, do that. They don't want to be bothered, or they don't want to get involved or whatever. But it's really a shame, because most of the people that we've met that are homeless are really nice people. They just have bad situations pop up. And it's really kind of sad, because, I don't know, you just feel like if they had just gotten that one break, things would have been different for them.